Well, hello there, everybody, and welcome to episode number 51 of Final Boss TV, your WoW endgame rating show. I am your host. My name over here is Adam K, aka Bay, and today we are talking about ranged DPS, specifically Warlocks and Shadow Priests in the Warlords of Draenor beta. You get some impressions on how the classes have changed, what is different, what they're going to look for in the early raid tier and stuff like that, and how beta testing has gone so far for these two classes. This is a junket system we're going to be doing the next couple of weekends, just grabbing in like random melee DPS, tanks, healers, ranged DPS, and sort of talking to them about how the beta is treating them so far, what they think, and just to get some takes on how it all is working out, and what you guys can expect when the game goes live. But first, joining us, hopefully, I think she's still here. Are you still there, Anna? You good to go? Hello.
Yes, I'm actually here, as I was not here for 55 minutes of our pre-show call.
Well, not that much. You were here.
I had a bit of a late start this morning, or this afternoon, as the case may be. So,
hey.
So if I look a little bit, out of it, you guys just need to tell me to focus, Anna.
Hey, pool days are important, all right?
I
pool
know.
days are important.
Sometimes you just need 14 hours of sleep, beauty sleep.
That's true too. That's true too. Joining us again, coming out from the Shadow Priest community, there's Mr. TwinTop, the owner of one of the Frostmourne replicas, if you remember that from his show back in the day. Hi, TT. Yep. What's up, buddy?
Doing well. Leaving Frostmourne up on the wall this time. So.
I like it.
I like your new addition to that giant. Is that a Hearthstone pillow back there?
Yes, it is. That's got
pretty epic.
All the Murkies and basically all the plushies up there.
That's awesome. Might have to break out the actual Frostmourne for later. It's okay. Should be good to go, sir. You ready for this? You ready to go?
Yep,
just a little
absolutely.
bit of hype.
A little bit of hype. Joining us for his first time, his debut on Final Boss, we have the GM of Midwinter, the Best Alliance Guild US, Mr. DPSonRoids. Hello, sir.
Hello. Yeah, and I've just got a bunch of trash all over my room. No Frostmournes. Sorry.
Just trash.
Yeah.
No Frostmournes, no plushie shelves.
I have some Arthas figurines under my bed somewhere from BlizzCon.
Under your bed? Put them up somewhere. But he is sporting a very manly beard. It's good to have beards on the show now.
Oh yeah, so many beards. We got a beard rub this year, BlizzCon.
Are you going to? All of you, really?
You gotta have a beard.
Oh yeah.
You
That's
should do that for meeting stone.
Yeah, that's how you shake hands with other people with beards. You just go up to them and just nuzzle with them.
Just nuzzle? You beard lock. That's what it's called. It's called beard locking. Beard locking.
Oh yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yep, beard locking is very important. Very important, sir. Oh my goodness. Are you guys gonna do progression beard this year? For maybe some tiers coming up?
Dude, I've already started. Like I'm good to go.
Progression has started already. We are doing
we got beta testing.
Beta
the beards
testing
are out. We're ready to go.
That is true. That is totally true.
Yeah,
Alrighty.
I agree.
Kick it over to you, Anna. Take it away.
Well, I'd like to hear a little bit from our guests about who you are and what you do in the community. I know that you've been on here before, TwinTop, and specifically talk a bit about the kinds of beta testing that you guys have been doing and what you've been spending your WoW time doing. So, TwinTop, you start us off.
Yeah, I'm actually writing the Shadow column over at Sentry Totem now, though I haven't posted a new article for a couple of weeks now. I've got some.
Well, get on that.
Jeez.
I know. It's difficult because I like to keep opinion out of what I write. I like to be very factual, and when everything's constantly changing, it makes it tough. But beta is beta, so things are going to change. Things are going to get improved upon, and
right, of course,
it's all good. In addition to that, I'm officer and /hug. And I try to maintain the Priest module for Simulation Craft, so it's all up and running for WoD right now if anybody wants to just take a peek at how things are shaping up. Pre-tuning.
Right.
So.
I see. And you've been doing a lot of beta testing then?
Yes. I've been in, I've gotten to level cap every time for each of the different beta waves before the resets. So been trying to do both Horde and Alliance, get in there to see what all's changed, doing a lot of the dungeon testing since raid testing hasn't really been a thing yet.
I see, okay.
Overall, things are looking good. They're moving pretty quick, I've noticed, as far as when they're opening up new things, which is fine by me.
Yeah, we had like the same 2 zones for like a month almost, and all of a sudden it's like everything else wipe, all the zones.
Throw everything at everyone.
Yes, exactly.
Like, oh, they finally fixed that annoying bug. Oh wait, that annoying bug's back now. Why?
Now, where can people see your impressions of the beta? Is it mostly on your Twitter stream then, since it doesn't sound like you have been putting too much up on Sentry Totem lately, or should we expect more good stuff on Sentry Totem?
There will be good stuff coming on Sentry Totem shortly. I've got a number of different longer posts in the works. Right now, what's up there are just kind of general beta impressions, like this is overall what's changed as of June. So there have been some other changes, but I've been trying to stream on Twitch whenever I'm in leveling, answering questions, or posting interesting things up on Twitter, or visiting forums. So,
all right. Well, we'll make sure to link your Twitch stream and your Twitter for everybody so that they can go follow you.
Awesome.
Now, Roids, let's talk about you. I know this is your first time on the show, and you are the GM of Midwinter. All right. So what have you been doing on the beta, and where can we see all of the cool stuff that you're doing?
Oh man, on the beta I've just ran a few 5-mans, so not much really. I leveled to 92. You know, me and Trekkie, we had a day where we just, you know, quested every single freaking zone in the Horde place, so that was pretty cool. But
excellent.
Yeah, I haven't really have a place where I post my thoughts on the beta, just because I haven't really done that. But you can find me on twitter.com/DPSonRoids.
Well,
if you're
that's why
interested in any of my bullshit.
That's why the show is here, so to give you guys an outlet to talk and jibber jab about all that stuff.
Yeah, so it's good.
Absolutely.
Now, have you been catching the raid testing on the beta?
Oh yeah, I'll be there for every single raid testing. So yeah, I was there for Grull and whoever the other guy was, and it was pretty fun. And I'm looking forward to tomorrow.
We got 2 more tomorrow, right?
Yep.
We were supposed to have raid testing again last week, but then of course something caught fire in a power plant.
A transformer exploded in Irvine.
Yeah,
all the blues were all tweeting about how they had no power at home and at work.
Rigarius couldn't make coffee.
Ugh, cannot even imagine.
How would he live?
I don't know.
I mean, Celestalon can just survive off all his ketchup bottles. He's fine, right? He can just live off this ketchup. But
I hear Celestalon's computer actually, his hard drive crashed.
He lost a hard drive in the surge. So there goes Warlords of Draenor, everybody. No, just kidding.
You know,
we're gonna lose a raid tier. It's okay though.
Yeah. Sometimes, how is it that Watcher phrased it? Sometimes things actually explode.
Yes.
Pushing raid testing back, but they'll be back up on Monday. So.
Yep, we will definitely have them back. So then I wanted to start off a little bit with your background in beta testing and the focuses while doing so. So what is like your beta testing history? You can go into other games as well, just kind of like to bolster it. But for WoW specifically, like TwinTop, you've been on the show before, but is this your first big beta that you're really testing because so much is in flux, or have you tested previous Warcraft betas?
I was in the vanilla WoW closed beta and open beta, which was a totally different experience because it was everything was new, things are totally broken. I wasn't in the Cataclysm beta or the Wrath or BC betas because I had taken a break from the game at that point. But I was in for MOP, and that was interesting seeing how things just have to be changed. The entire zone revamps, or, oh, by the way, we actually have the new talent system done, and here you go. What do you think? And it's total broken. My rule of thumb is, much like yours, I've noticed from watching the Final Boss stream, if there's something that's not right, no matter how little it is, report it.
Yep.
Because if you don't report it, somebody else or everybody else might think that, hey, it's not important. No, somebody else will pick up on it. It's so little.
Right.
I don't need to. But the devs want to know what's wrong. I mean, I'm a software dev in my real world stuff.
Yes.
So I want to know when something's not working, and I want to know, like, what did you have to do to reproduce it? Is it constant? Is it affecting anything else that might seem that you think that it shouldn't, but it is? More information is better. I know the 500 character limit, I think it is on the in-game bug report, is a little bit limiting, but if it's bigger than that, post it on the forums.
Sure.
They
and
love
having the in-game bug report is great. I don't think that was there in previous betas, being able to report that kind of stuff in-game.
Sometimes
I'm not
no.
sure if it was.
I don't mean, because in MOP there were so many people because of the annual pass thing. It was a different testing environment, whereas when it's so much more sort of controlled and focused. And to what TwinTop said, all the live stream junkets that I did with streaming the alpha and the beta, when I was reporting bugs, like chat room was freaking out, like, "What's he doing? What is that thing? He's reporting a bug?"
Actually doing what is intended from the beta?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I made some highlights and things of things that are really broken. That door in the Tanan opening stuff when you're questing along after you grab, oh my god, URL and stuff like that. That door now opens automatically, whereas in the beta it would like open like 7 times after you click it. I reported that after it was hilarious, but people were like, "He is reporting things. What is this?" So I thought it was pretty funny.
It's not just a head start so that you can stream stuff to people. You're actually reporting bugs, really?
And then people were angry that I was doing all this testing and like looking at each class and each spec individually. Like they were mad that just play the game. I'm like, it's beta testing. What?
It's not about new content. It's about finding out what works, what doesn't work, testing all the changes, because there's huge overhauls.
Exactly.
People don't understand that usually.
Absolutely. And then Roids, how about you? Is this your first big junket in beta testing, or because you've been with WoW for a long time now, how many betas have you been tweaking stuff and testing
I've been a neckbeard for way too long. This is probably like, you know, I can't even count. Yeah, but I've done them all since.
However many betas there were, you've been in all of them.
Yeah. I'm always there. Omniscient beta tester.
Now, do you submit bug reports in game, or do you just play it?
Well, after you set up how important that is to do all that shit, no, I just play the damn game.
Somebody else will handle it.
Yeah, that's, you know,
that's Sparkug's job.
People like you allow me to just play the game.
Oh, damn it!
Yeah. Well, let's be honest though. A lot of times when you guys are doing the PvE testing, you're being watched by enough developers.
Yeah, the devs are floating above
whatever
you.
you're encountering is going to be new to them.
Yeah, you test that, please, so if we don't get another raw den.
Hey, I'll do my part, and I'll like work with our other warlocks, and we'll just like test every spec. So I'll do stuff like that. But,
so I want to go back a little bit because I totally messed up, I guess, when I was doing your intro. I want to hear about how long you have played the game. So you said you've been in every beta test. Have you played WoW since vanilla?
Oh yeah. I actually haven't even missed a single progression tier since the game came out.
Since the game came out, wow. Now have you been a?
Oh, what's that? Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I had nothing else to say.
So now, have you been a warlock for all of that time, or have you played different classes?
Yep. Yeah, I've been a warlock the entire time. I have switched classes based on what our guilds needed. Like, for instance, on Black Fuse progression, we needed more melee to DPS the belt. So I just hopped over to my rogue.
More melee?
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah, melee's great on that. Well, mainly rogues, because you can just be like, "Oh, I have cloak. I can just run through all the beams."
Yep.
And yeah, so that was fun. And I've played Ellie Shaman on some fights too. So I really like our guild philosophy is like, you know, recruit the player, not the class. We'll have like everyone. If there's something we need, we'll just have people swap to it, or you know, people who want to join, they'll be like, "I can play whatever. I'm flexible." So. You know, we've had a lot of people in the guild just swap between lots of different classes. We really don't think it matters too much.
I see.
Yeah.
Now, how long have you been with Midwinter then? Have you been with them from the start? What is your history there?
I actually joined Midwinter when they were like top 150 US guild. I just moved to the server they were on randomly, and I saw they were like the second best guild on the server. And I was like, these guys seem pretty cool. So I just randomly apped to them. I had no idea who they were or anything. And this was back in Sunwell. And I really liked the laid-back atmosphere. I had just come from this top 50 guild where the raid leader had a huge stick up his ass the whole time. And he was just screaming at everyone. So it was extremely refreshing to go from that environment to Midwinter, which was super laid-back and chill. So I didn't even really care that they weren't as competitive that I would like, but you know, Over the years, we just got better and better and better, and started taking stuff more seriously. So, yeah, I've been here for about 6 years to answer your question.
Wow.
Very cool.
Definitely a long time. Now, when did you become the actual GM of the guild? Like, how did that work?
Yeah, the actual GM. So, I've been an officer since Ice Crown. I raid led a bit. I actually hate raid leading, so I only did that when I had to. But our previous GM quit around Mist, so I've been the GM for basically Mist of Pandaria.
Okay, so almost 7 years then. All right, yeah. We've been in Mist. How long have we been in Mist now? Almost 2 years, something like that, right?
Yeah.
Long time.
Yeah, that's pretty all right.
Well, that's such a nice story to join a guild where you just really appreciated the attitude and the atmosphere, and you had fun.
Oh yeah, it was all about fun, and it still is. Like I would not be playing this game if I just didn't really enjoy progression. Like I play a ton of games. I play League. Like I'm all over the place, but I genuinely think like progression, World of Warcraft is like the pinnacle of gaming. Like it's just the rush you get from the progression rates just doesn't really compare to anything else for me.
We'll get into it a little later here. I don't want to like jump the gun.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just like
the progression rates will be great once you get to the mythic run. Those heroic 17 farm runs are going to be great.
Oh yeah. Get your spreadsheets out.
Rep the spreadsheets.
Get the spreadsheets out.
Oh god! In the first week where you're just like, South Park WoW episode, just leveling 4 tunes the first week, just madness.
I don't envy you guys. I'm doing 1. That's enough. And I'll do 1 like 4 months later, but you guys are gonna do 3 or 4 each.
Oh yeah, that's an exaggeration.
Right, of course.
Yeah. There'll be some people crazy enough to do like 4 for sure.
Yeah. So that actually brings me to the next little bit here. Then how do you guys? Your guilds are very different in Spectrum. How do you attack the new content this time around? Like, what are your thoughts towards the mythic race and how the game's going to launch? There's some controversy here because of like when the game's going to release and when the mythic raids are going to unlock and how's it going to work with BlizzCon or the holiday season and whatnot. So right now, I guess I'll go with TwinTop first. Like, what is /Hug going to do when you attack this new content? You guys are going to level 17 alts and then do 15 heroic clears, or are you guys going to just do 1 normal, 1 heroic, and then jump into mythic the next week after? Like, how are you guys going to tackle the mythic ladder when it launches TwinTop?
Well, we're going to take a slightly different approach than what we've done in the past. We raid 3 days, 4 hours a night. And that has limited us in some ways when trying to do progression. Like, for example, our raid nights fell on Christmas and New Year's this year, which means we lost, in some cases, a full week of trying to progress. So one of the things we're doing is we're going to stay 3 nights. Like, we're not adding more nights. We're not looking to necessarily be like US top 20. Right. So we do think that maybe top 30, top 40, somewhere in there is definitely possible because of the level of our players.
Sure.
But what we're going to do is the first week we're actually going to do 2 different heroic runs and try to funnel gear off a little bit and add a 4th night just for the first week of new content.
Right.
Then when Mythic comes around, the next week, maybe have a 4th night then, but then go right back to 3 nights trying to really progress and focus more on doing Mythic clears at least early in the week on Tuesday, Wednesday, and then try to have heroic 1 night clear on Thursday, or maybe even optional, semi-optional on the weekend, so that we can really spend as much time as we can on progression and leave it on the shoulders of our raiders to try to get the best gear that they can. They know that's a requirement. We're going to help. The officer corps is going to help however we can. But with that being said, a few of us are going to try to level multiple tunes in the first week to have them raid ready, just so we can do like a 20 and a 20 heroic raid where we've got 8 or 9 or 10 mains in each one, so that we can get them as geared as possible.
Yeah.
You guys have so many plans.
We're making some changes.
Yeah. Something we really plans are like, we're going to raid 3 nights a week.
we were really bummed because we were in the low 30s for US rankings before the end of December came around, and our rankings just tanked. We ended at 54th, and you know, we all understand it, and it's not that we're okay with being in that range, but we want to try to avoid it if at all possible.
It's gonna be weird to
I remember
see
those Christmas and New Year's raids as well. I think we took a couple weeks off, and we had I remember looking at the rankings and saying, oh, we had the first 25 heroic garrosh kill after the Christmas break, and there was just this hole. For 3 weeks, if you look at the garrosh kills, there was a hole in the middle of December where nobody killed garrosh, and then we got it down, and a bunch of other people did after that. But yeah, those holiday days are just rough. So
yeah. It's weird how the landscape's going to be definitely changing with a single ladder between, like, say, like, Oceanic and European and US, like, raid stuff. Because right now it's all, like, weird with the 10-man 25 thing and all that kind of stuff like that. Because chat room's talking about whole West rank or world rank kind of stuff like that. But, like, that's what you look at, honestly. Like, because you don't really care about your world rank if you're a US-based guild. You're a US-based rank, right? There are still those delineations. There's the world rank. Sure, but then it's weird because the factoring in the Asian servers, like when was their patch? Does their game equal the same as yours? All this other weird stuff. So we'll have to see how the Mythic ladder changes things, how people set themselves apart from the people. So, and that is a little different now with Midwinter. What are you guys going to be doing for your initial launch weeks and stuff? And then how are you going to tackle the Mythic content then, Roids?
Yeah, so you know, sort of the same thing. We're all gonna level tunes. We're all gonna like organize runs to make sure the gear's spread out around amongst our main raiders. We haven't really decided how many normal mode runs we're gonna do. You know, obviously 2's the minimum, maybe 3.
Now, normal or actual heroic runs?
Yeah, actual heroic runs.
Heroic,
sorry.
yeah, that's what it's called now. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, and
I don't think the normal gear would be worth anything. Probably not.
Yeah, every time I see heroic in any of these raid testings, I'm like, ooh, they're testing heroic, and then I realize, nope, they're testing old
Mythic,
normal.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we just plan to do that, and you know, hopefully we don't have to go down to BlizzCon for a week during progression, or else we're just all gonna go play WildStar.
Yeah. Aww. Yeah, that's a weird point right now. I don't know if any of the CMs or devs are in chat right now. We would love to see like your contingency plan for the launch cycle. Obviously, you don't know exactly when it's going to come out, but like we were talking about in the pre-show, setting this up now, that if you like, will you delay BlackRock Mythic until after BlizzCon, regardless of when the expansion comes out? So we'll just have more time for normal heroic farm, because if you put out Mythic before BlizzCon, all these guilds that have to go lose the week. They're basically done for the race. They lost a week of gear. It's going to be really bad for them. They're already committed to go to your convention. So how would you have Mythic out during BlizzCon? It feels like such a weird system right now.
I don't know if we can get, I'm not sure if we can get any answers with that until we see a real release date.
Sure, of course. But, I mean, they've got Brewfest and new Halloween stuff in the data mine.
I'm going to guess that there are enough
3rd.
developers who are raiders that they will end all of the implications of releasing Mythic during BlizzCon. I don't think that they're going to do that to people, but we'll see.
I think they want it before BlizzCon, like to launch the expansion, but then they should not unlock Mythic until after BlizzCon, right? That would probably be the best for everybody, probably.
Yeah.
We'll have to see.
Yeah, we'll see. There's not much that we can do without guessing at this point.
Of course. Just saying. It would be a really big problem, I think, if Mythic was out like the week before BlizzCon and you were like, wait, what? It'd be weird. It'd be weird. So
curious, Bay, did Chris make any changes to how you guys are going to attack new content for this next expansion? Because I'm really impressed at all these things that I'm hearing.
I mean, we still do 4 nights a week. But I think I want to go to the 3 night a week, like 4 hour, like the big standard that people do right now. I'm not an officer, and I just do medium
12
stuff.
hours. The 12-hour 3-night thing is great for working.
I think, though, because we're in the middle of the pack, I mean, you and our guild are really similar, is that you actually beat us in the race, but we raid 1 night more than you. We didn't raid for like 2 weeks during Christmas, though. You guys only lost 1. So there's like all these weird implications about how this whole little thing around the middle of the 30s US stuff works. But I don't know, honestly. I would imagine we're going to try to do 2 heroic clears at least the first week to get the jump on gear and funnel. Because with it being 10 to 30 people, you can actually don't need 20 raiders with alts. You just need enough to split your group apart with enough with alts, enough with mains to split it apart. You can do a 12 and then like a 18 or whatever. Bring your friends along and just don't have them get any loot. And then you can funnel loot to your mains because they'll just have fun with you guys, which I think is the whole point. What's that?
That's interesting because like if you have 30 people come in,
right,
and you bring your friends in, and that are just not gonna have any gear, you can funnel more gear because the number of drops scales with eligible players.
Yeah, I wonder what the breakpoints are on those. They haven't officially released like the breakpoints. I know they said like after a certain point you get a chance to get some, and then after a certain point you get some. I wonder how that's gonna work.
I think it's like if it's every 5 people equals 1 more piece of loot. If you have 23 people, then you have a 60% chance of getting a 5th piece of loot.
Well, I know they said that the loot from 25 to 20 is like the same. Right? So if you raid Heroic 25 now, you raid Mythic 20, you get like the same amount of loot, basically. Maybe 1 less piece. So I wonder then if you do the 30-man normal Heroic, do you actually get like 2 more chances at loot? Is it that much more? I wonder. Because
is it not like LFR style where you just like you just get
no.
I think you can opt in at least normal. You can opt in for personal loot, and then it removes you as an eligible person for the actual dropped loot.
But Heroic is loot drops off bosses.
I think. I know Mythic definitely is.
Yeah. Again, those would be little clarifications we need on the loot systems in each of the 4 raid settings too. I mean, obviously LFR is just personal loot, but what the difference between normal Heroic is will be neat to see when that comes out. So yeah. So the new guys, are you going to? What kind of hours are you looking at putting in for the race when it starts, though, Roids? I know that you guys don't do like the method 18-hour runs where you like take naps and stuff and then come back to raid. To some degree, like what are you guys going to do for this expansion? Are you going to take it a little more seriously because the mythic bunch in the ladder might expand a lot? Like you might, at least in your vein, have a lot more running for that second place spot again. Because like I don't know, I put you in the same barrel as like Lily's just going to do like 18-hour raids 7 days a week. So maybe. Yeah. So what are you guys going to do?
So yeah, our plan is to continue our Siege of Orgrimmar hours, which was about 7 to 8 start time. It's a little flexible. If we can start raids at 7, we're going to. But if we're not starting raids till later, we'll just say screw it. We'll start at 8, and it'll go from like 8 to 2 or 3 in the morning, and that has an asterisk. So that's when like 80% of our raids end. Sometimes like Heroic Black Fuse Monday night and Paragon's Sunday night. No, Monday night. Yeah, we raided till like 5 a.m. and got the kills like right before reset. So
wow, yeah.
So yeah, we do go pretty hard, but yeah, we're not starting at like noon or 2 p.m. like VL method. So yeah, we're gonna continue that, and there's also some discussion as what to do with the last tier. Maybe we thought about actually competing for world first and going really hard for that 10 boss tier, and while keeping our hours and like maybe try to get everyone to take off work for a week, but we'll see. That's not really final or anything, but yeah, so definitely Siege of Orgrimmar hours. So
it's not a huge change then. I wonder.
It's not.
And we talked about I wonder how the mythic pool is going to be, because just in the U.S. realm of progression here, there's probably going to be at least a dozen more guilds that are coming up from the 10-man to mythic that were strong in the 10-man setting. And if they've adapted and really upgraded to the 20-man setting and are prepared for mythic, it's going to be a lot more guilds in that top of the pack. So honestly, like being top 50 U.S. now in Mythic Row will mean a lot more because of how many more guilds are being put into the pot. We'll have to see how that changes. Again, the first tier, I think tier 17 is going to be an absolute kerfuffle. It's going to be ridiculous, but I think tier 18, 19 will be really good. Like for like organization of guilds and where people are placed and how the race works, and yeah.
Oh, the first tier is always my favorite one, though.
Sure, I mean it's definitely
you
a
hit
rush.
You hit so undergeared. You never replicate that experience because those of us who hit the further tiers and best in slot gear, we don't have the same experience as hitting that very first tier. I love it.
I actually just love the part where you're just scrambling to get all the outside of rating BIS gear. You're running 5 bands. It's all Yeah, it's always my favorite part of the game is the first tier of the expansion and just doing 5-mans with your guildies, getting all your BIS pieces, shit like leveling a new profession because one's OP. Like,
Yeah,
it's great.
Well, let's move the topic on a little bit to the beta right now, off of some speculation about the future. So I'd like to hear from you guys, just in broad strokes, how you feel about the beta, since you have both spent some time in there. You know, what your thoughts are towards Warlords so far, anything you're incredibly excited about. TwinTop, let's start with you.
I know this is going to be a very unpopular opinion,
Oh,
but
gosh.
Our
comes.
favorite kind.
I am loving not being able to fly.
Yeah, that's what I like to hear.
Right. It feels right. Now, if they want to add it in when they start adding new zones and patch filler, like that's fine. But I really think that keeping the leveling experience alive, even when you're max level, as long as you can get from generalized point A to point B in a timely fashion, you know, no flight paths that take you around the edge of the zone, please, it'll all be fine. Other than that, what I'm noticing for right now is gear that you're coming in with. If you have any Siege of Orgrimmar gear, especially like heroic, you just destroy stuff all the way up into the mid 90s for level. One of the interesting things is that I noticed when I was actually in Midwinter's Siege run that they did a few weeks ago, is we actually had some level 100s come in. And they were below the level 90s because everybody's gear was scaled down to the same item level. And, you know, as you're leveling, the coefficient for mastery and haste and crit and whatnot starts increasing. So you have the same raw rating, but your effective percentages drop. Right. And because all of your abilities are spell power coefficient bases and your spell power is not changing, the base damage that they do does stay the same. So what I'm getting at is you're going to be able to just blow stuff up all the way up until like 98, 99, especially with the perks helping increase how much damage things do.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot easier to level. Additionally, having 10 levels to level through instead of 5, it feels like you're leveling really quick. You get something new a lot more often.
Right.
It really keeps you wanting to keep playing.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, Roids, what do you think so far? Like broad strokes of the beta so far. What are you absorbing?
Broad strokes of the beta so far. I actually like that. Well, first off, I love the mythic raid setting. I mean, when I heard about that, that's just one of the best changes I've ever heard about the game since they actually split them up.
Right.
You know, they can do a lot of cool shit when they don't have to balance between 10 and 25 man. But you know, as far as initial impressions. You know, I ran the 5-man a lot. I noticed that, you know, before you can just cast while moving a lot, and now you really have to like predict your movements, and it feels really clunky at first, but I think it'll be better for the game actually having it so movement matters and positioning yourself in a way that requires it so like there's a lot less movement if you have to move, stuff like that. So and I also think that Warlocks, they're in an okay place. Like, it's basically the same with like a few buttons removed, which is what I gather the gist for most classes.
Yeah, I mean, some classes are a little affected more than others, and we'll get a little more of that in detail after the little break. Is there anything that either of you are really not super excited about so far? Like, are things you're just like, bleh, that are coming? Anything that comes to mind real quick that you're just like really unhappy towards in the beta?
Uh,
The silence is a good thing if you have to think about it.
Yeah, I like
Not
that
really.
you guys
The
have to think
only-
about that.
Right.
The only things that I could even bitch and groan about would be are things that don't matter at this point. It's like tuning hasn't happened yet, and
Right.
I can look at spreadsheets and go, "Well, this talent's not viable," and I know in the back of my head that's not going to be the case. They're going to make everything able to be used,
exactly.
but it's kind of it's a little bit. I don't want to say annoying or disconcerting that if a talent is known to not be balanced, then just overbuff it so that it gives people a reason to at least try it. You know, there's no reason to keep it way under tuned. Everybody knows it needs to be tuned anyway.
Right.
You know, but really, even that is very, very, very minor.
Yeah. Like, I can't...
And that can change further on in the testing process because you could actually have that beta build where that talent is overtuned. You just don't know yet. So.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Like, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I put these notes down myself, and I was writing them down to see if you guys would think of anything, but I don't
Yeah.
think there's anything that I'm, like, really upset about or, like...
Yeah. It's still too early, and like TwinTop said, like, we can't really bitch about the numbers about anything because, you know, everything's going to get changed and tuned accordingly. So,
Right.
you know, the only thing you can, like, bitch about is, like, the concepts behind things, and I don't really have any complaints there.
Actually,
you know?
oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, my only complaint is, you know, obviously the server stability, but whatever.
I think my only actual complaint I just remembered, this is for all the warriors out there, is the sound of Wild Strike.
How does that go, actually?
It's just so, because it's such a spamming ability, it just sounds like you're punching a watermelon. It just sounds really weird. It's like Gallaghering all the time, and it's just awkward. I don't know. It doesn't sound very warrior-y. It sounds very, like, I don't know, kind of wet farty. I don't know. It's an interesting noise, but I thought they said they were working on that. So, I don't know if Archie's in chat. He can update us on how that's sounding. But,
So are there any changes that you'd still like to see added or done, or are you pretty satisfied? It sounds like you guys are reasonably satisfied with the directions that things are going in at this point, in a broad way.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I was. One of my complaints, I guess, or things, is this level 100 talent cataclysm for warlocks. It just feels. It feels weird. Like, it's a 1 minute cooldown. It's an AoE. It's a really, really long cast, and it puts a dot on everything. So, I don't know. It seems like an incredibly niche level 100 talent. Like, not something that I would like to see, because, you know, you only get 3 new talents, right, for level 100. So you would think that they would be like something really cool that you could use in every scenario, something viable in every scenario. And I just really don't see this talent being used a whole lot.
yeah,
But,
I mean,
you know,
it's your option for, like, snap AoE, but that's really, 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 really niche, like you said. But I think that might be what they're going for, because I want to see. I'm pretty sure they want to see the devs want to see talent moving. I'm sure there's some analytic they can look at where they can see how often people change their talents. And I bet you right now, the stagnation of, like, picking the same, was it 7 right now, sits there for so long before you change anything. I hope they really try to force around things so you can really move around talents based on encounters, for us anyway, as raiders. So, TwinTop, you had something else that you were not happy about?
Well, actually, in the same line of what you were just saying, you know, Shadow Priests are really on the opposite spectrum of that. Even in MOP right now, we have 3 different rows of talents that we swap out and change that impact how we do damage on a fight-by-fight basis. And there's some that are better categorically for one kind of fight or another. But, you know, and I actually think because of that, Shadow is one of the least changed specs going into Warlords. Our talents aside from losing Psyfiend and having Psychic Scream be replaced in there, the first 6 rows of talents are the same, with little tweaks to accommodate the new additions at the level 100. So I'm really hoping that, like, when I play other classes, like when I play my Windwalker, I play my Assassination Rogue, I'll have more choices, have to make more critical decisions on what I want to actually use.
If you're playing Rogue, you're picking Death from Above all the time. Because badassery. But yes.
Yeah.
I don't know, because I've tested every class at 90 and every class at 100, and my thoughts originally were like, these look like you could change them around, hopefully, as long as the power disparity isn't like, whoa, Nelly. Because that's the main thing it comes down to for PvE raiders, is you'll find out what does the most damaggio, and then you pick it. That's kind of how the simple as go, but hopefully that's not an issue. Hopefully you can really change around talents a lot more than this utility stuff. Because right now, if DPS talents have no variation, then why are they all there? That's the thing. I mean, obviously there's different arguments for PvP, but this is a PvE show. So we'll talk about PvE here. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It's interesting how that's coming along right now. And we still have more to test. And again, if you're in beta, or you know people that are in beta, or you're watching a beta streamer that are testing other classes and things, get your feedback in, or go to the forums and post your feedback. I mean, hashtag the devs are listening, right? Like this expansion, I think they've been the most transparent ever. And if you want to help impact the game changing before it launches, you are those that they're going to help us out. Not just people right up here. It's everyone's other opinions like that. You got to get with your communities, get with your forum groups or whatever, MO Champion, or on separate forums on Century Totem, whatever, and help voice opinions because they're still looking at things. Things have changed just last week. So
my favorite thing is when I see people complain about something that they don't like, and I'm like, well, I wonder if you've actually put that on the forums or anywhere where the devs are looking for feedback. And a lot of the time, the answer is they haven't. They're just moaning. So if you have something that you don't love or some feedback on how something is working, give that feedback the way it's meant to be given, either through the in-game feedback button or on the forums, and let people know.
Right.
Absolutely. And something else to keep in mind, and that is just what we were just talking about. Right now, if something is not hitting hard or it's too hard, like those are important things, but those are things that can be more easily changed. If you don't like the way
Final verdict.
If you don't like the way that something feels, or you think a rotation it could use some polish, or oh, wouldn't it be interesting if there was this extra effect on some ability? That's really good feedback, especially for where everything is at right now. The numbers will come into line, but if you don't like the way that something plays, they can do all the number tuning that they can tune every day until launch, and you still won't be happy.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I have another question for you guys, since it sounds like you both are fairly positive about what the direction of the beta. Can you tell me a little bit about what features are being added in Warlords that you're most excited for? Because we have a lot of stuff that is changing in Warlords, from visual upgrades to garrisons to item squish to major raid changes. So, Roids, how about you? What are you most excited for that's changing in Warlords?
Obviously, garrisons, right?
Right,
Right?
Definitely garrisons on your side.
Oh man, you just stole my answer. Okay. Yeah, definitely garrisons. Hopefully it looks good. I collected some wood earlier today.
Yeah.
Optimizing that wood collection.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna have a bachelor's pad. It's gonna be nice.
Do you have a spreadsheet for your wood collection? Right.
No, I'll borrow that from Stin or some other robot in our guild. But
I mean, because you said you were mostly for the mythic raid, probably.
Yeah,
Is there anything else outside of that?
Yeah.
So there's mythic, garrisons. What else is there? Oh god, lore.
Exactly.
I guess.
So much stuff.
Lore.
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 Yeah,
wait, the hardcore raiders don't care about lore.
That's a good
what
word.
about?
I care about that word. Absolutely.
I know, that was the joke, Bay. That's the joke.
Hey, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know other than mythic and garrisons. Do you guys have any ideas?
Deal.
Yeah,
no,
Mythic is a huge deal.
I mean, going to one raid size for serious for really hardcore raiders, like that is above and beyond anything else. That's definitely what's going to affect us the most.
Right.
It's actually amazing because I really miss little cool things Warlocks could do specifically, like Warlock tanking even. Like, you know, you can't do Warlock tanking at all when you have to bounce around a 10-man because you can't force a 10-man to have a Warlock.
Right.
But now, like, you can do cool stuff like that. You can make encounters that, you know, rely on spell steal or whatever, like lots of things.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and that's one of the things that I think the devs have said is going to come back now that they're only going to design Mythic for one raid size, and it's something we should all really be looking forward to.
Yeah, but I really hope I get to tank some stuff, mainly. Like, I tanked Leothras, Kael'thas, Illidan, all these BC bosses, and it was just always a blast, just searing pain and being unkillable and stuff. And now we have 1 million health, so we're, like, perfect for it. Well, I guess now we'll have 300k, but whatever.
Who was that guy in ICC? There was a range tank. The princes. Yeah. There was a fight in ICC that had to be range tanked.
The Blood Princes.
Yeah, the Blood Princes.
Yep.
Blood Princes. Yep. Yeah. And Illidan. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and the twins and Sunwell.
Yeah.
Yep.
Lots of little things. Mages tanked on High Lord Mulgar. So I mean, they always have 5 tank classes, but if they're only planning around 2 to a possible 3rd in Mythic, I wonder if that 3rd might not always be only a tank. It would be neat if we had different options for that. Or if some fights don't even need tanks, and tanks can do other jobs, like the train boss. What's that about?
Tanks don't like that stuff, though.
Well, oh, you don't want Spine of Deathwing? You don't want more Spine of Deathwing? No? No one of that?
They can just deal with it. I mean, they do 1 billion damage now.
Right.
So,
They
you
do
know,
do
let
1
us
billion
let
damage.
us have some fun. Let us kite the bosses and
Yeah.
do stuff like that. It's a lot of fun. Like, yeah. I don't know if you guys remember that caterpillar boss, the first boss of in Blackrock Mountains or whatever, where you have the hunter like kite the ads across the entire room into Omnitron Council's room, like with fire everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, shit
we had
like
a
that
Frosty
is just
K do it, but yeah.
yeah, shit like that is just hilarious rating. I don't know. It's a lot of fun.
What was that guy called? That giant lava worm. What was it even
started
called?
with an M.
Magma.
Magma. It was Magma.
TwinTop
we
with
had
the save.
We had a Frosty K do that, but same deal with just like infinite kiting. If it can be kited, it will be kited. What is that? Like rule number 1 of encounter design or something?
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
So I really hope we see more of that, 'cause that shit's just really fun. It's really funny when they mess up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, how about you, TwinTop? What are you most looking forward to?
You know, I don't want to sound, well, I'm interested in a lot of the balance stuff, just across the different playstyles, you know, so racial changes is big. I'm really looking forward to the new models also.
Heck yeah.
You know, I mean, there's a lot of people that say, oh, why do we need new models? Can't those people be working on other things? It's like, the art team does art. The class balance team does class balance. But also, the removal of reforging and switching enchanting up so that you can get enchanting and food and flax, so you can choose what secondary stats you want. So instead of, you know, having multiple gear sets be totally necessary for different specs or sub-specs, you can pretty quickly switch out to get a faster playstyle if you need to have more GCDs available, or if you know that there's some mechanic where you have to crit, for example, you can switch things in really quickly. It removes a lot of the unnecessary complexity that was reforging, but still gets a similar effect of character customization.
Sure.
And I absolutely agree with everything that Roids said. I'm looking forward to Mythic and being able to have more interesting encounters, because you can expect to have at least one of every class in there at a minimum.
I really wonder, I mean, my only thing I was going to have a problem with, going into Warlords is our next topic. And it's the gearing changes. I mean, removing reforging is fine, but I am a super pro advocate to removing Warforged gear from Mythic rating, because I think there is enough RNG in the loot system now that it feels very Diablo-esque, and anyone that raids at any type of top or hardcore or committed to progression rating level is the most frustrating thing. It is not rewarding to get loot 7 weeks later when you don't need it anymore. It's rewarding to get the loot you need, when when you are progressing on the end of the content tier.
It's like the only thing that you're really mad about that I just could not care less about.
Why don't you?
Sorry if you expected rage from me on this topic.
No, Rage of Fell Torch is mine right now. I'm holding it.
Like so. I honestly accept the fact that you're very, very passionate about it, and I just have faith that it'll be fine. So.
I'm with Bay, Anna. Have you done the atrocities of double Throne of Thunder runs before Siege? Were you guys doing that?
We weren't doing double Throne of Thunder runs before Siege. No, we weren't the hardcore. We're just 3 nights a week and just do whatever we want in 3 nights a week.
Okay, yeah. See, that's what our farm was taking, was 3 nights a week, and that was when it becomes a huge problem, you know?
Yeah. I mean, and I've seen the randomization thing just go completely off. I mean, if you're watching, not that I want to bring up another game, but it's so interesting to watch what the developers are saying about the complete failure of the WildStar runecrafting system.
Right.
It is every bad thing about randomization. You should, if anyone's concerned about Warlords randomization, you should at least go look up what the developers of WildStar have been saying about how they have to change their runecrafting system, because they did it so wrong.
But their game is hardcore, Anna. It's hardcore.
Yeah,
Hashtag hardcore.
But it's just it's spectacular to see. Like all of the mistakes that they've made are all of the mistakes that we don't want to see in WoW. So it's really it's a really interesting thing to watch. So I mean, I'm not a fan of randomization in general. I just don't really think it's going to make that big of a difference.
Sorry. I don't know. I mean, my biggest gripe. I'm not to like get on this topic, but since you know that I was talking about this with Roids and TwinTop setting the show up, was that Warforged in normal mode dungeons, heroic dungeons, even like normal and heroic raids, fine. It's good to help those little boosts along, right, for those guilds that are in those progression ranks. But if you're mythic raiding, that is the pinnacle of gear. Why do you need a chance at better gear than the boss already drops? Like, why is that a thing? With the tertiary system, the new secondary stats, no reforging and gem slots being random, why do you need an extra random chance on other random things on your best piece of loot for you? Like, I don't... Leave it in everything else, but take it out of Mythic. It will simplify the gear jump, which the whole point of why we're having a game squish in general is because of the eye level ramp. We have 8 eye levels of gear in tier 17? Why? I mean, like, obviously it's the intro tier, but that also means that every raid tier we have 5. That's so many. We're gonna have to game squish every expansion now. Like, is that a lot of work that devs want to do? Like, just remove Warforged from Mythic. It'll take off a little bit at the end. I just don't know. I don't know why it's there, personally.
Like, yeah, like, have they explained the reasoning for its existence? Like, because, you know, I can assume it's to, like, expand the life of farm, I guess, or...
We're going to farm anyway, though, Roids, right?
Right,
You're going to farm anyway.
Right, and you're also... There's also going to be a piece or two that you still need, regardless of Warforged or not, in most cases. So... I'd be really interested to see why it's in there because, you know, I'm totally with you. I really hate Warforged, Thunderforged, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
It just needs to go.
Yeah.
See, and I'm in kind of a hybrid camp with this. I think that if you were to still have it in Mythic, but you have a set of randomizations that can occur on every piece of gear, whether it be it's an eye level boost, or like for weapons, it's just a straight spell power boost or weapon damage boost, or that it has a slot, gem socket in it. But you make sure that one of those is always present. You just don't know which one you're going to get. It still adds that variety flavor there without making things really explode in item levels and it being a giant upgrade to go from one of them to another. I'm not even sure. If I remember right when it was announced, you could theoretically have a Warforged gemmed with a tertiary stat item drop, although it'll be like 1 in 1,000.
Right.
Yeah.
But that creates this. They want to quell this BIS loot system thing, which has been present for all the expansions beforehand, which is great. The issue is though, it doesn't do that. It just makes gearing for raiders much more annoying and not as fun to get loot. Because if you don't roll the right things, or you already have a piece that's a little bit worse at eye level, but you have a gem slocket, then would the mythic piece be an upgrade? Or do you need the mythic iron forged piece to be an upgrade, but it never drops, but you're already done with the content? So why do you need it even in the first place? Like, it doesn't matter. Well,
and there's cases of that already, even in Siege. If you have a poorly itemized piece that ends up being Warforged, it can, or a perfectly itemized piece that is Warforged. If you get, wow, now I'm confusing myself. If you get a non-Warforged piece,
that's the whole problem.
I know.
That's the problem.
If you get a non-Warforged,
I thought that was the point. He's illustrating why they want to do it.
If you get a non-Warforged piece that's perfectly itemized, it could be better than a poorly itemized Warforged piece.
Correct.
Yeah, and I think. Oh, sorry.
No, it's you, sir. Go for it.
Okay. Go for it.
Yeah, I think a lot of the reason for Warforged is probably people getting to their BIS and gearing up too fast as a result of this coining system. I mean, this coining system is a massive change. I mean, the rate you gear up, you know, this expansion is incredibly faster than everything else. Like,
sure, exactly.
You know, you get
a huge difference.
It's massive. You get like, you know, everyone's getting like multiple trinkets every week. It's absolutely absurd the impact of coins on progression rating. So, like, what they need to do is, like, you know, they just should get rid of Warforged. There's coins. Like, I even thought if you're going to have bosses drop, like, you know, 6 or 7 pieces of loot, whatever it is now, you know, compared to the old days where you raided with twice as many people and only had, like, Yeah,
Exactly.
it's like, so the loot has doubled, the raid size has halved, and now we're coining shit. Like,
Yep.
so there's just like
That's where the problem is right there.
that's the problem. Exactly.
Like, I think coins are cool because they're an outside incentive to go into raid. It's a player choice. But the random on random on random loot you're getting is not player choice and is more frustrating. And Spaz was talking about it in chat right now. Top-end raiders aren't going to stop farming because there's no incentive to get upgrades. If you're still farming, you're farming because that's you do it anyway. You're not going to keep farming because you need Warforged on 2 people. You're farming because that's what you do in your raid time. That's what your guild does. It's you hanging out with your friends every week. There's multiple reasons outside of the random chance to get something you don't need anymore because you're already done. Like, I need Warforged pieces that are before Garrosh, but Garrosh has been dead for 6 months. I don't need it anymore. It's pointless.
Yeah,
right?
for sure. It's just like a little incentive for some of those people that really care about that stuff.
Well, that's why I think it's cool in normal and heroic because it helps those players get into mythic raiding.
Yeah.
But mythic raiders want the best, their piece of gear they earn from the highest level of difficulty, and they can move on to the next boss. Not 6 weeks later get the trinket that they needed 6 weeks later.
Yeah.
Or earlier, rather.
Yeah, I just think that they should remove Warforging and then remove this loot pinata system where there's just, 10 pieces of 10, 15 pieces of loot per boss via coins. It's just, if you do that, if bosses are only dropping 4 pieces of loot, there's no need for Warforged gear because, just getting the actual heroic item is going to be a feat in itself.
Correct, exactly. And that would actually bring back power to endgame epics again. When you get them off those bosses, you'll feel power spikes.
All right.
Like you'll feel them. Like, and right now you just get these huge blankets, and if they're Warforged or not, and if they're coined, or if you get, the Valor system upgrades is gone, but it just feels like there's too much random that isn't really good for the players, I feel.
I would say that my biggest problem with it is when you see so many people hit a tier in such perfectly optimized gear, which is kind of what we saw in Siege of Orgrimmar, where the first 8 bosses were just completely boring and awful. And some of us who tested them on PTR were like, wow, those bosses were much more fun when our gear was scaled down, 25 more item levels. Sure. So I wish that exactly what Roids said, that less gear dropped and you just weren't, and less coins, and you just getting the actual piece was harder rather than getting the piece being easy and getting the optimized piece taking more time. But I don't know, you guys have talked a lot about this, about how the randomization is bad. And just to clarify my point on this, because I'm not as far away from you guys as it may seem.
No, it's fine.
I think that a situation where an upgrade drops and something from last tier is better because it's perfectly itemized
and Warforged or whatever. Exactly.
Is bad in general. Just setting aside how that piece is better.
Right.
If a new piece drops and your piece from last tier is better, that is a bad feeling. You should not be disenchanting lots and lots and lots of loot from a tier because last tier's gear is better. I think that's just bad. I think that some variation within a tier, a small amount of variation, is okay. In general, I think it's okay. I don't think it's okay on weapons. I don't think it's okay on trinkets. I think we've discussed that a lot, that those variations are way too high. But I don't really have a huge problem with the tertiary stat stuff, and I don't really have a huge problem with the socket stuff, provided that sockets aren't. It's not like in WildStar where you can socket assault power or something. It's provided that the sockets create a very small amount of variation. And I know there are some people who think that any kind of randomization is bad because if it's not perfect, it feels bad to drop. And for me, it's just an upgrade kind of thing. I don't want to be disenchanting lots and lots of loot that should be an upgrade.
It's just the compound randomization is the problem. Like, if gems are random now, sure. If the tertiary is going to be different on different pieces, that's fine. They're all just butter and fluff stats anyway. Secondaries are locked in on every piece. Like, there are certain pieces, whatever, like different wrists or different whatever. Your set pieces is fine. But then they have the chance to all those things also be tossed into the Warforged pool.
Yeah.
It's just too dumb, because then you want a Warforged, gem-socketed, movement-speeded, tertiary-statted, best-in-slot piece. And it's too much of a headache, right? Because then, of course, there'll be different things that help. Like, the guy gets it but doesn't show up for 3 weeks afterwards, where he quits the game, and it's like, oh! Like, why even put that in the game? Like, it's a ruining system.
I just wanted to clarify my position on that because I'm not
yeah.
like completely opposed to you guys. I just think that they're a little bit
Right.
should be okay, like within, like with like the kind of thing that is like within the margin of error on SimC. Like
Right.
not a really like any kind of really big variation. I think is much less okay. So.
Well, I'm going to take a short little minute here and break us away. I'm going to push the rest of those topics down after the little breaky poo. I want to talk to you guys about some things behind the scenes that are super awesome and some announcement-esque stuff that you might not have heard about before. We talked about it a little bit earlier, is that this awesome little website, link is down below, called sentrytotem.com. is a great place that you guys should bookmark and look forward to in the future when all this stuff is changing. If you want to go through guides, news posts, and the biggest thing is to do this help me button. You can have your class and spec audited by experts of the game. Their staff lists are up here at the top. You can see all these great folks down here, which a lot of names you might recognize before from the community. That have been on the show before even, or have been outstanding theory crafters in their respective roles for every class in a long time. So you guys check out Sentry Totem. If you want to have questions going into the new expansion, let these guys figure it out for you and help you along. Easily submit your tickets, talk to these amazing folks over here at Sentry Totem. You'll be good to go to help you out into the new expansion. All these people, look, all these good guys. Look at this. Look at this. Just have them do all the work for you. Super awesome. And then, of course, if you want to check out someone else that's close to all of our hearts, Slootbag recently just made his own website, slootbag.com, super original, you know, where he posts all this tanking stuff. It's mostly all of him and his glorious face, but he will be posting tons of weak aura strings and things for, I'm imagining, every single tank. Yeah, here they go. He has huge weak aura strings that he'll be updating, of course, when we get into Warlords. For all these different, all 5 tanking classes. This is like your end-all tanking stop. I think what Slootbag has done. He's got also his UI and add-on section over here where you can see what he has for, you know, different UI pieces, things to help you out for tanking, different ways to mark stuff, all these little great add-ons here over at slootbag.com. So another resource you guys want to definitely keep in touch with for the next expansion. Additionally, our website is down below, FinalBoss.tv. We just had last week, we had our episode 50 with WoW Trivial Pursuit. We had all of our great guests on again. Alex Laws from Fat Boss, Brutal Static, Elvine the Golden Making Mage, Novel the Novel, Silver Latomi, and of course Anna and myself. But then after that, all of our other episodes are there too. Preach's interviews there, all the beta testing nights and alpha testing nights are all here. All of our contact stuff, email, all this craziness. If you want to help out the show in a different way, the donate button's right there too. That really comes into play in this huge project that I'm working on right now. Noble, myself, a friend of mine, Silver Latomi, are taking the next year plus, probably 18 months, to convert the newest World of Warcraft novel, War Crimes, to a 10-part machinima animated web series using the new models. If you are a 3D modeler, if you are a graphic designer, if you want to be a voiceover for one of the characters, email us at finalbosswow@gmail.com with links to your stuff, options for people you can voice, demo reels for people you can voice, or things you have created. 3D modelers that can Maya or 3ds Max are the biggest things right now. If you want to be a part of this huge project of converting this thing to a 10-part machinima series, basically pulling a Game of Thrones right now is converting a book to a movie that's just in 10 parts. Email us, talk to me about it. We'll talk in emails. You guys are super awesome. And thank you all so much for watching the show. And of course, all the links are down below. All our Facebook, our YouTubes, our Twitters, stuff like that. If you want to submit questions for future episodes, like we're about to get into a little bit here, we ask you guys to send us questions to ask our guests every week. And if there are guests on that you want to talk to, send us a question. It might show up on the show. That's the best way for you to literally interact with these people on the show. So, let me double check real quick, make sure we're coming back from this break. Roids, you good?
Cam. Is that good?
Are you good? I think, hang on, let me, oh, there you are.
Sorry.
You're good to go.
I had to extract a cat. It was too messy for the cam.
Oh, you had to extract the cat?
Extract the cat. Oh, that poor kitty.
He's been playing over your shoulder this whole time.
Yeah.
I had to use a kite strat. Just aggroed it.
Wow.
Very
Is it
nice.
a druid?
So, alrighty, we have a topic here. We're kind of going to race through these first little ones, and then we'll get right into more nitty-gritty about Shadow Priests and Warlocks. I want to talk about movement affecting range DPS.
Ooh, one of my favorite topics, yes.
Right. So this brings us to our first question over here on the Q&A panel. It comes in from, from Pro Psionic on some server. He didn't fill it out. Goofy. How will the 5 Shadow Orb mechanic change Shadow's current Mists of Pandaria raid style?
Well,
what do you think?
For movement, stepping back a little bit.
Yeah, it's in tandem. Go for it.
The Shadow Priests are not really changing for what their movement is from Mop to Warlords. Most other classes are losing a lot of their movement DPS, but really, Shadow never had it. All we had was running around and spamming Shadow Orb Pain and using anything that was an instant cast or a proc, as in our level 90 talents, or if we had a From Darkness Comes Light, Surge of Darkness, Mind Spike proc. So that's not really changing. With the 5 orbs, though, there are a lot of doors that get opened up, because now if you take, for example, Surge of Darkness, every tick of Devouring Plague, which costs 3 Shadow Orbs, has a chance to give you a Surge of Darkness proc. And Surge of Darkness stacks up to 3 times now, instead of 2 as it is in MOP. So if you know there's a lot of movement getting ready to come up, you can start banking Shadow Orbs and cast a Devouring Plague a few seconds, or maybe 5 seconds before movement's going to start, to try to get those procs to occur, and probably get back up to 3 orbs and start moving, fire off another Devouring Plague, because you're not going to lose any damage thanks to its ignite mechanic. Which actually, let me take a second. A lot of people don't realize that there's an ignite mechanic on Devouring Plague, because we never encounter it. Basically, it's when I say ignite mechanic, what I mean is if you reapply Devouring Plague before the previous one is done ticking, all of the damage left in those ticks that you're overwriting get redistributed over 7 ticks. So you don't lose any damage. You just lose ticks to proc things.
Yes.
Or to be able to use something like Mindful Insanity on a target, you're shortening the amount of time. But it's not a bad thing to reapply it, especially if you know that, well, I don't have any other buttons to push, and, well, you don't have to worry about dot snapshotting anymore, so I can either spam Shadow Orb Pain, or I can use Devouring Plague instead. So there's a lot more options. Additionally, if you take Clarity of Power, it reduces the base cooldown on Mind Blast by 3 seconds, and Mind Blast is also reduced by haste now, so that's also very good. But it also makes it instant cast, so that's another button that you can press while you're moving every 4 GCDs about. So it gives you something else to do. Now, in the Clarity of Power scenario, you're not going to be using Shadow Orb Pain, because then you won't get extra damage to whatever target you're attacking.
Right.
Now, if there's a secondary target or something, you could spam Shadow Orb Pain on it and get some effective total DPS. But as always, make sure that it's actually useful DPS. No padding.
So
until farm.
I mean, when I first saw this on the beta, I was like, "Oh, so Shadow Priests have holy power now."
Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got the ret. They got the ret treatment.
Right.
Yeah, I think I copied Spazzo. That's what he said in chat.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the ret treatment, which is, I think everybody saw this coming, because it's like, oh, all these problems with only having 3 holy power. Oh, let's fix it for paladins, but leave Shadow the same.
Right.
This is a logical step forward. I think it's great that it's going to be a perk, and it's if anybody's watched me streaming, the first night that I was actually streaming alpha, I got to 91 and I got Shadow Orbs, and I went nuts on stream because I was like, yes.
Good. That's good.
Yeah, it's
that's
one
definitely
of those,
the feeling they want you to have. Yeah.
Definitely, and they have definitely pulled it off with a lot of the Shadow ones. Some of them are 20% increase in damage. Like, okay, that's nothing to scoff at.
Yeah.
But
we'll see. So I guess that brings me to a second question here about Shadow Priests. Then Anna can do the Warlock questions for Roids. So question 2 comes in over here. Whoop, from Verlichten on US Storm Reaver. Hopefully that's not some, like, bad word. But currently, in Mists of Pandaria, Shadow Priests are lacking in single-target DPS. How is that being adjusted and addressed in Warlords of Draenor?
Few different ways. Looking really specifically on just single-target patchwork, right?
Right.
One of the tuning problems or limitations that the devs had to keep in mind when doing tuning for us during Mists of Pandaria was our old mastery, which was when your dots tick, they have a chance to tick again, effectively. And those mastery dot ticks were also able to do things like proc your talents. So it could proc Divine Insight, and you would have effectively a 10 or if you had like 25% mastery, you wouldn't have a 5% chance per tick. You would have an effective 6.25% chance. So it would linearly increase some of those things, but really the power for that came in multi-target situations where you have all your dots rolling.
Yeah.
So if you did things like increase the damage that Mind Blast does, like, all right, well, then you've got PvP implications because it's going to just hit like a truck. Or if you made our dots do more damage, then it cascades out into multi-target as well. So with that being said, what few things that they've done is our mastery's changed. Our mastery is now base flat, increases the damage on Mind Blast, Mind Flay, and Mind Spike.
Right.
So things that are inherently single target nukes.
Yep.
So that makes it so they can balance us against single target. Well, the other change is Clarity of Power is actually a spec that makes you want to use Mind Spike for once instead of just outside of procs. I mean, we've had this since Cataclysm, and it's really been very niche in uses. So
just to stop you real quick, I'm going to bring up it on stream real quick just to show people what Clarity of Power reads, because this is a big change, I believe, for Shadow Priest. Is that your Mind Spike, Mind Seer, and Shadow Word Death deal 40% additional damage to targets not affected by Shadow Word Pain or Vampiric Touch. And it also reduces the cooldown on Mind Blast by 3 seconds and makes it instant cast, essentially making you do no dot damage, only direct nukes, making you a normal caster, not a dot caster.
Correct.
Yes.
It is, I want to run around and nuke things. I don't want to have my dots be ticking and doing little damage that amounts to a lot over time. It's kind of the Arcane Mage sub-spec of Shadow Priest now, which is really one of the way that I view the level 100 talents is, they're going to excel in different areas, depending on, fight types and if there's movement or a lot of targets or whatever. But they should really be viewed as separate specs with different secondary stat priorities, playstyle changes. It's the closest thing to having another additional playstyle for Shadow as there's ever been, and I don't count Holy DPS.
No, that's not a real thing. Yeah.
Oh, it's a very real thing. Didn't you see?
I went Holy DPS on the beta, man. I was 2-shot and 3-shot in quest mobs. Like, blah, blah. It's pretty good.
For a month and a half over on Warcraft logs, I was the #1 all-star DPS because I had the #1 ranking for Holy DPS on all 14 bosses.
I've seen Zarevka do Holy DPS on live, man. That's been a thing.
When you can do 300k on protectors as Holy, there's something wrong.
That's pretty good. It's all right.
So,
I can one up your Holy DPS.
Uh-oh.
I brought my blue-geared 5-man fresh level 90 rogue into Radin and got the #1, what was that, subparse, because I was the only subparse.
Exactly.
Oh, subtlety rogues.
Special snowflake.
Yeah.
Well, let's move along to Warlocks then and hear a little bit about Warlocks on the beta. So, speaking of the changes to movement, which of the 3 Warlock specs is most affected by the changes that they've made?
Which is most affected? Let's see. F is pretty much the same. Destruction is pretty much the same. I would say demo.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because there's this new ability called Demon Bolt, and right now it's horribly balanced, which is fine. So can't really play around with it too much, but
Right.
it seems really interesting. So, you know, just by adding one spell to one of the specs, that automatically makes it the one that's changed the most, right? So
I see.
yeah.
that's-
So I tried playing around with it. It seems really bad right now, but that's okay.
Bad like numbers wise or bad like feels
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
rotation
bad
wise?
bad numbers wise, and also the way it feels. Like it
Mm.
punishes you for casting it more. So like every minute it stacks up to 10 times. The more you cast it, the
Mhm.
more it costs. So it's one
Oh.
of those things where there's going to be some rule, I guess, like some theory crafter when it's actually tuned, like, you
Right.
only want to cast it 4 times a minute or something.
I mean, right now, so I mean, look at this is the current build implication of how Doombolt reads. It's 160 demonic fury at a 2-second cast at a 40-yard range. Requires metamorphosis, and you launch a ball of demonic energy at the target, dealing 200% of spell power, chaos damage. It looks cool. Each Doombolt increases the cost of further Doombolts by 50% for 1 minute, reduced by haste, up to 10 times stacking. Now that looks like a little better version of the one that I tested, which was like the one that you hit like at 400, and then it refunded you the 400 after you come out of Metamorphosis, so you get back to
Well,
Metamorphosis quicker. It was so weird.
Celestalon says the current build caught Demon Bolt in the middle of a redesign, so it's really broken.
Oh wow,
So
so
I
it's just
suppose,
broken?
so
Oh,
I
okay.
suppose you'll probably see some changes coming soon.
Yeah, hopefully. And
We'll
as
see.
far as far as movement, I actually like what they're doing. With a caveat, like I don't think it's good for the game to be able to spam your filler while moving. It makes it very not interesting at all. And actually, like Shadow Priests are like the worst. I don't know how you play Shadow Priests. Respect to you, man. But that class is actually the worst play class I've ever played. Like not only can you not cast while moving, which like all these other classes can do, other than like refreshing your dots, but you also have like different ranges, right? So you have to be like 30 yards away, and that's like a design that they really hate because I remember Warlocks had to do that too. Like we would have spells with different ranges and shit. So it just seems like Shadow Priest kind of like missed it in terms of Blizzard being like, oh, having different ranges on abilities is bad. You know, not being
Right.
able to cast while moving is bad. And it seems like everyone can do something except Shadow Priest. But I do want to say, like, what I would really, really like is just give us something to do while moving. It feels really weird to just not cast anything at all while moving. Like, just, you know, just do it like mages or whatever, where you can, like, cast Seer while moving. Something not optimal, but at least you're still doing something.
Now is
So-
this the
Yeah,
reason?
that definitely feels better is to be able to
Right.
do something that it's like
Right.
less DPS, so you still want to optimize, but you're not
Right.
like doing nothing.
Yeah, you want to get punished for moving, but not in a way where you're actually not pressing buttons while moving.
Well, now that's
So-
that's the argument, of course, here right now, because your Kill Jaden's Cunning, which is a 1-minute
Right.
cooldown that lets you move and cast all Warlock spells for 8 seconds.
Yeah.
There's a talent now, whereas on live it's not a talent, to my knowledge. Correct?
It's a talent
Oh, it's still a
on
talent?
live. Yeah,
Okay.
it's passive, so
Mm.
but it's like a level 90 talent.
Yes,
Kill
it
Jaden's
is.
Cunning, right?
Correct.
Right.
Because that brought me into the question for you real quick here, which is Q&A number 3, I think. Yeah, if you want to read that off, Anna, I'll bring it up.
If you're talking about the one that regards Kill Jaden's Cunning, that's number 4.
Oh, it's number 4. Oh, wrong
Yeah.
one. Do number 4.
You skipped one, but that's
Oh.
okay. We'll go straight there.
Do number 4.
Is the talent Kill Jaden's Cunning better than Archimonde's Darkness? 2 charges of Dark Soul just seems like the best choice for any fight.
Yeah, so even on live right now, when you can use Kill Jaden's Cunning all the time, I still use Archimonde's Darkness, depending on the fight, you know, how much movement. Archimonde's Darkness is actually better than it sounds. See, it doesn't give you 2 extra cooldowns every 2 minutes. It gives you 2 at the start, and then every 2 minutes is another one.
Correct.
So it's pretty much this talent gives you 1 extra cooldown. So, you know, obviously on fights that are really short, it's amazing on. But fights that stretch longer, it's not that great. But
Unless you sat in the fight long enough to get 2 charges
Yeah.
again to build up for a huge
Yeah,
burst
exactly.
phase. But yes.
as yeah, I was gonna say, as far as you know, the 2 charges versus being able to move for 8 seconds on a 1-minute cooldown, kind of like the shaman ability. Yeah, I don't think that's good enough to really compete with Archimonde's Darkness. We'll see though.
I mean,
Yeah.
to my thought when I was looking at this talent tier for you guys, again, this is the weird one that's in contention, is level 90s. It's Archimonde's Darkness, the Dark Skull 2 charges, kill Jaden's Cunning, short cooldown, let you cast while moving, and Manaros Fury, which is the huge AoE buffer on a short cooldown. This is such a huge choice tier. The issue is, though, is kill Jaden's Cunning is movement, Manaros Fury is AoE range, but then Archimonde's Darkness is literally just flat damage. And that looks weird compared to these other two. It feels like Archimonde's Darkness should either like be something different or be not just more damage, right? Because it's a damage choice versus Kill Jaden's Cunning and Manaros Fury are sort of damage choices, but they're not direct, and they're so niche. I don't know. It's a weird thing right now for you guys. I think that even though you talked about Cataclysm earlier, that tier for Warlocks looks interesting right now.
Yeah, and also, like, even the level 100 Demonic Servitude talent where you replace your Doomguard with a pet, even that can be hard to balance because I don't, like, if that ends up mathematically being the best talent, then that's a really boring talent just to have, like, some passive Doomguard, you know?
Right.
It's not really interesting. So I feel like it would be bad if that's our best talent choice. And also, it would, it's just a weird talent because it feels like one of those talents where you would either take it all the time or never take it, you know?
Right.
Like I don't see that talent being good on a specific fight. Like, it's either always good or never good.
Yeah.
So that's interesting to see how they'll balance that.
Yeah.
So I guess moving along, kind of in line with what you've been talking about, which spec do you feel like is the most fun on beta right now, or has the most fun rotation? And that's from Seldaric.
Yeah, that question came in. Oh, he submitted like 17 questions. We picked 3. But yeah. Which Warlock spec do you feel is the most fun rotation in Warlords right now? Yeah.
Well, man, if you have 17 questions, you can hit me up after the show too. But yeah, as far as the most fun, I think it's definitely Demo, just because Demo is the spec with the most decision making. AF and Destruction really function like a priority type rotation where you just, you know, there's no decision making, there's only the correct way to do something. It's always like, you know, press this spell when it's off cooldown, press this, do this. So I really don't like rotations that are like, you know, priority based like that because it's pretty bland. But with Demo, there's a lot of decision making. It's like, when should I go into demon form? Do I wait? You know, a lot of stuff like that. And you also have to plan around your cooldowns and stuff. You see I have my big cooldown coming up in 20 seconds. I better build up my Fury to full so I can have max effect and be in my demon form the entirety of the duration.
Right.
So really cool shit like that you can't really do with the other specs. The other specs are just like, you know, here's your optimal rotation. You know, do it when it's off cooldown, and you know you only have 4 buttons. So, I'm looking forward to playing a lot of Demo, and I hope it's viable.
Yeah, we'll see. Cool. We talked about how which I'll turn over to TwinTop here, but it looks like with 3 different Warlock specs finally, you sort of have different levels of I guess interactivity with each spec, and some are harder than others, like how Affliction is just super smooth. You put your dots up and, you know, drain soul and just sit there and do whatever you need to do. And then it gets a little more timing oriented with Destruction because you gotta manage your ambers and your Chaos Bolt timing and stuff like that, right? It's a little harder. And then Demology is so much more to manage. But usually, depending on numbers, the harder to manage specs don't do more damage than the easier to do ones. So we'll have to see how that works. Do you have any thoughts toward that with Caster Shadow Priest TwinTop versus Dot a Priest? Which one is harder or easier yet? Do you think anything out of that?
You know, Clarity of Power in one target is pretty mind-numbing. It's like Arcane Mage. It really is. Auspicious Spirits, which is the talent where your shadowy apparitions, instead of dealing damage, they grant a shadow orb, is the most similar to the current mop playstyle. It's just sped up because you're getting more and more orbs to use Devouring Plague on.
Right.
Void Entropy kind of falls in the middle because it is a 1 minute long duration that, as Celeston revealed a couple days ago is now going to be able to be refreshed by Devouring Plague casts. So in a one target situation, it doesn't change your overall play style at all. It's like I cast it once and I forget about it. But when you start getting into multi-target situations, then things really start changing. Clarity of Power, as Celeste mentioned in chat a little while ago, when you get multi-target, you're going to want to put your dots up on secondary targets that you aren't going to be mind spiking, so you can do good damage, because the amount of damage from one GCD of putting Shadowward Pain up versus using mind spike is higher. And to also fish for procs, so that you can have more interaction. But it even gets deeper than that. For example, if you take Surge of Darkness or you take Mindbender, if you have secondary targets where it's going to be useful damage, you want to put Devouring Plague on those targets so you can keep Mind Spiking your primary target. Because if you don't, Mind Spike's going to remove Devouring Plague.
Right.
So it's going to be a lot of managing which targets you put it on. With Auspicious Spirits, if you have a ton of targets, you're getting a lot of shadowy apparitions, you're going to be very hectic with trying to spend them and not lose out on any orbs, which, in my opinion, is the #1 skill cap area of Shadow in Warlords, is proper use of your Shadow orbs and not letting any go to waste. Because you get 1 from Mind Blast. You get 3 from Mind Blast if you have Glyph of Mind Harvest the first time you cast it, Mind Blast on a target.
A new target, a new target.
A new target, exactly. You get 1 for each Shadow or Death instead of from just the first one. You can get, and then you have to worry about where you're spending your orbs, and you add Auspicious Spirits in there, and it's going to be keeping the overflow to a minimum. In fact, I spent some time on the beta last week developing a weak aura that tracks the number of shadowy apparitions that are in flight toward targets.
Oh, really?
When I have Auspicious Spirits, so I can know, all right, I have this many orbs en route. If I have 4 shadowy apparitions out there and I'm at 4 orbs, I better use Devouring Plague now.
That's cool. That's also like ridiculous. I tried Auspicious Spirits in the beta and multi-targeting just the 5 little shredders, and it was just like boop, boop, boop.
Yeah,
like all just flying out of me. So it actually, it'd be really ridiculous. But there's some changes coming around that way. So we'll have to see how that works for you.
I was just going to move us along to some sort of wrap-up questions as far as the way that they feel that their classes are working, Bay.
Right,
that sounds good for you.
That's what I was doing both of them at the same time. Exactly.
Yeah, I see. Well, I was going to ask TwinTop, since you were talking about the things that are awesome in the spec, is there anything that you think you're still missing, and is there anything that you think could still be pruned out of Shadow?
Pruned, we didn't lose any of our DPS abilities. The only things that we lost were off-healing.
Right.
So when I said earlier that Shadow is one of the least affected specs from MOP into WoD, I mean it. It is basically the same gameplay. With that being said, with the addition of the level 100 talents, it creates some interesting paradoxes or problems, because all of the other talents, since we have so many that interact with each other, need to have some sort of interaction with one another. One of those right now is if you take Void Entropy, because it costs orbs. Well, if you also take Insanity, which when you cast Devouring Plague, which also costs orbs, there's a decision to be made there, which when you spend your orbs on, if you do that, okay, now you have less uptime on Insanity. And as you add more,
it's weird.
more and more talent, or more and more targets, you have to maintain Void Entropy on all those. So it then becomes, do you add some sort of Insanity tie-in to Void Entropy, or do you have Void Entropy also give an equivalent buff or debuff to let you do it? Like, I'm sure there's something in the works to correct it, but it's one of those little things. The only other thing is, in that same row of level 45 talents, Surge of Darkness procs off of Devouring Plague. It procs off of something with orbs. Insanity increases your damage done from orbs when you spend Devouring Plague on a target. Mindbender we don't really need it for mana anymore. It doesn't do anything with orbs. It just thematically seems a little bit out of place. I don't have any off the top of my head ideas for how you could fix that, but if it could, well, I mean,
that's what we got devs for. You tell them what you think doesn't work. They can come up with solutions.
I've thrown ideas around with other Shadow Priests. None of them are coming up to the forefront right now. But having something to involve with the spending of orbs, making something change, even if it's like, every time you spend orbs, your Shadow Fiend turns into Mindbender. Every time you spend orbs, it reduces the cooldown. Something to kind of tie it in thematically. That's really the only thing that I think's missing.
I see. Okay. Now, how about you, Roids? What do you think could be pruned out of Phlox right now, and what do you think is missing that really you think should be added before it goes live, if anything?
Oh yeah, what should be added for sure is some shitty filler spell that we can cast while moving, something like Fell Flame, which they pruned.
Right.
So something like that would be awesome. Doesn't have to be strong. It could be half as much damage. Just whatever. Just I want to press buttons while I move. The other thing is what can be pruned. I'm looking through the list. I don't know. I guess Soul Shatter, since threat never matters.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of weird, but that's still in. I mean, they took the ret spell out that had to do with threat, so it's surprising that that's still a thing.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of flavor spells that are never used. There's Health Funnel and Slave Demon, stuff like that. But nothing core really I would prune. I think also something that they should add is I've just always been really underwhelmed by glyphs in this game. For instance, on beta testing, someone told me I had no glyphs in when we were testing the content. I was like, oh shit, let me go throw some glyphs in. I looked through the list, I'm just like, all right, I have 6 minor glyph slots. Should I make my mount run over water fast? Should I should I increase the health of my pet I don't use? Should I nerf myself by making my cooldown shittier? It's what are glyphs ever going to be strong? So that's something that I would like to see. And I know they don't want to make glyphs strong or whatever. They want it to be more flavorful, but when you go into raids and you're trying to min-max your character, and min-maxing your character is just throwing one glyph in, I mean, that's just not good.
There definitely is. We've talked about that before on the show on many, many episodes because we've done every class and spec and Warlords. We get that back and forth that sometimes some classes have interesting glyphs and others just don't. When I play my Shaman, I've had the same 3 major glyphs sans 1 this entire expansion. If I want the stun or the higher, the more AoE on fire, no, that's it, right? It has no other choices. And then I get on my paladin and I'm like, all these choices. What is this? I don't know. Some classes have just tons of things. I haven't changed my
glyphs in a long time, Dave. So I don't know about all those choices that paladins have.
I don't know if it's a class-to-class thing, but I'm talking about prot in general, right? Prot has so many things you can move around, whereas I have 1 that I move back and forth.
You could move them around. In general, you stick with the same one.
Right,
but
But that's the back and forth that should glyphs all be cosmetic?
Yeah. No, I mean, I really like the design of I like the design of, say, the palette. Sorry, I'm going to make a paladin reference here.
Oh my God, no!
YouTube's going to be all over me. But I really like the design of, for example, there's a paladin glyph that changes whether our divine protection affects magic and physical damage or just physical damage. And that's one of those, you're going to choose it based on the damage that you're taking in the encounter. Right. In general, you always pick the same one because usually, I mean, the way encounters are designed, magic damage is the only thing you care about. But in theory, when there is physical damage that you care about, you can switch it. And that's the kind of thing that's interesting because you can swap it in and out, and it's not you're going to pick whatever the best DPS choice is. But there just aren't a whole lot of glyphs that are designed like that. Most of them are just either you're never going to use them or you're always going to use them. So
So it just seems to vary wildly between classes. That sounds like a really cool glyph for Pallies, but Warlocks, it seems like the guy, the glyph guy, he worked on Pallies all day. And then he got late and he switched to Warlocks. He was just like, Fuck it. Let's just make their banish red or something.
Banishes.
But I mean, like, for example, a glyph that warlocks could have that everybody else in the raid always wanted warlocks to have was turning on and off green fire. Like, we really wanted you guys. We really
Yeah,
wanted
you
you
needed
guys
that.
to be able to control that.
Oh, Hordon.
Everyone wanted you guys to be able to control
yeah.
that. The glyph would be
Yeah.
a perfect place for this.
Yeah, I was definitely the guy in Darumu when everyone's doing the maze. I'm spamming my 500% room-sized AoE green fucking.
And I was the person like,
Hellfires.
stop doing that. And that week that DBM broke, and like usually it turns off particle effects by default on fights like Duramu, but there was one week that Omega broke that setting, and we pulled Duramu, and all the particle effects were on, and everyone just died immediately the first time the maze came out. Oh, that was just. Warlocks have the most obnoxious spell effects. I'm sorry. They're just pretty
Well, we
Sure,
don't
do.
see those the same way now with the raid graphic settings. So, like, you'll be able to see Roids AoEing his face off, but he'll see his face being AoE'd off on his screen.
Yeah.
We'll just see him throwing like little poots, like. Poot.
But on the topic of glyphs, like controlling
Right.
what kind of spell effects are your characters putting out are a really cool cosmetic, but also sometimes really useful thing that glyphs could do. But on very rare occasions, do glyphs actually do that? So
There is some amazing little things. I don't think you guys know about this. There is a way in your garrison that you can change. You can transmog your enchantments in the future. So if you want everything to look like, if you want your your Warlord's enchantment to look like Executioner, you can do that. So I wonder, there's definitely some technology on the way coming that they can really program all this stuff in. So, and with the new raid graphic settings, and you can scroll to other people differently now, and you only see your beautiful stuff and not Anna's freaking holy Avenger light spasm guy, right? So I wonder if that stuff maybe will happen. Like, there's a couple of things they could do in that regard. I mean, Arcane Orb, if you could see that all the time on Arcane Mages, that's going to be a huge kerfuffle of spell effects. That thing looks amazing to you, but not to everyone else, right? So
yeah,
the stuff like that would be interesting. So we'll see. All right, closing remarks, guys.
yeah. Closing remarks. Anything that you really want the Warlock or the Shadow Priest community to take away, or things that you just want to communicate to people that are really important. Just soapbox moment.
TwinTop,
Last
go.
words. Yeah, last words about your class. Things like that.
Just remember, beta is beta. Every voice matters, but try to give constructive feedback. Just mindlessly bitching is not good. And also, the way that I view the level 100s, again, and I think the devs view them like this too, is if you like the playstyle of one over another, play it. There's always going to be cases where one is going to be better than another by a little bit, but the game's about having fun. I know doing big deeps is a lot of fun for people, but play what's fun. And the way that things are shaping up, everything's going to be pretty balanced for the most part.
Right. No, but chat room thing, you cut me off. I was pointing at you to take it. That's the chat room. It's okay. I was pointing for you guys to wrap up
I wanted
stuff.
more questions.
No, it's okay. I know. We'll push some stuff to the after show, so stick around for that. All right, so Roids, closing remarks on Warlocks.
Okay, I just want to make sure me and all the other Warlocks are on the same page and that we are all going to half-ass beta testing, so our class is OP.
No, don't.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Chad. He's probably so pissed. But
Gotta sign the
like
Warlock
TwinTop's,
contract.
yeah, like TwinTop said, they don't be one of those crazy people on MMO Champion that's just raging, frothing at the mouth about their damage or changes. Like, after you've been through a few betas, you know that shit is just constantly changing and evolving. Like, there'll be like one spell or talent that goes through maybe even 3 or 4 changes alone. So, just chillax a little bit on the forums.
Yeah, I think CTR has a raid you can call. It's 1-800-CALM the F down. It's a pretty good number you can call if you're freaking out right now. So some people on Twitter and other places on YouTube comments, stuff like that, have been really vocal about like incredibly negative and toxic stuff and really rude about things. When the game is out and there are problems, then you can be a little more angry about it. But right now, like, don't make the job for the people that are making this game and being super transparent with you about their changes any harder. Be supportive. What the hell? You've been playing this game for how long? You're being this angry? Calm down, all right? Just calm down.
Yeah,
It's okay.
every time I see one of those, I think, man, that is a beta slot that could have gone to somebody who could have provided good feedback.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Or even like all the
Absolutely.
rage about the server stability. It's like, okay, you know, how many betas have we done? This shit's just gonna happen, and you know, it's all just like noise, right?
It
And
is.
plus, like,
Yeah.
you know, or people like, oh, I see Midwinter rating, they're getting special treatment. It's like,
Yeah, of course.
Well,
yeah, you know,
a lot
bro.
of people view beta as, oh, I get to go experience new content because
Yeah, they
we've
treat it like
we've
head
all been
start.
stuck.
Yeah,
Exactly,
It's not like
and-
that at all.
That's not
No.
it. That's not it. That's a perk to be able to see it before you're going to be playing it for the next 2 years.
Yeah.
But that's not the point of beta, people.
Yeah.
It really isn't.
Nope.
Yeah, I just
Not.
you know, the best mindset I have is just have the lowest expectations. Like for instance, the first 2 testings, I was like, yeah, hopefully I can log on. That would be cool. I was able to, and I got to raid. And then when they announced the Friday testing, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I hope it's actually available to testing, that it doesn't get delayed or anything. But you know, something caught on fire, so
Low
there's
expectations.
nothing you can do. Yeah.
Right. All right, I'm hitting this button over here. Where's the button? There it is. I don't even. I mean, a little bit over, but we had so much to talk about. We're gonna push some stuff to the after show, so stick around for that. Of course, it's like our open little Q&A forum thing. We get out of here, we'll take a little break, come back for that. And of course, if you're one of those cute butts watching on YouTube, just hit the annotation. It's probably right here somewhere. It's been there the whole damn show. Just hit that, go forward, while wait for us to talk, and then do that. But around the corner, real quick here we head, of course, the lovely coast of Final Boss TV. There's Anna.
Yes. Hey, a little bit more awake now than I was a couple hours ago.
Yeah, you
Had a
go-
great time talking to these guys, both of whom are just wonderful, wonderful testers. So thanks everyone for joining us.
You can follow Anna on Twitter at NFL. Right there.
Yep.
Are you playing anything else right now? Or are you doing things, Anna? What have you been up to?
Playing anything else right now? Maybe some other games, but no, I'll be doing some more beta testing as things ramp up. I
Right.
was skeptical that the first couple tests were going to be playable, and rightfully so. So I didn't take any time off of work for those. But as soon as the testing gets a little bit more serious, I will be testing more.
Right. Gotta get you on the show again so we can do some things.
Yes, definitely.
Yes. Then, of course, we had Mr. DPSonRoids, the GM of Midwinter. You can go follow him over on DPSonRoids on Twitter as well. There he is. Thank you for being on the show, sir. It was a pleasure.
Oh, anytime.
A lot of fun. A lot of fun. And then
Super
Mr.
fun.
TwinTop from /Hug over there. You can go find his Sentry Totem profile in the staff section for all of his linkage and soon to have great things about Shadow Priest for the beta. Thank you, sir. Second time around, good as the first.
Thanks for having me.
And of course, there is my face. If I put the right one here, yep. All of my social stuff or whatever is on my personal channel at BayTLM on Twitch. Otherwise, I'm here most of the time now streaming World of Warcraft related stuff and beta testing and things. So, this is a junket prep we're doing right now with the beta in flux. So next week will be 2 other people talking about beta. I don't know if I'm gonna do tanks yet, or melee DPS, or healers.
People.
People.
People, testers.
There's this circle, right? So I do ranged, tanks, melee DPS, healers, sort of in a circle, and it'll bounce around a little bit through there. It was gonna be healers this week, but the healers that I wanted to come on were busy. So just keep up on Facebook and Twitter for the updates on who's coming on the show next week. And then for when the questions go up, submit them at the website. Link is down below. And we will see you here next week. Thank you all for watching very much. We appreciate it. Stick around for the after show. But until then, have a great week. Have a good reset. Trust in the coin. Have fun at work. And until later, guys. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Wave by Roids. Wave by Roids.
Oh, shit.
Yeah!
Both arms.
There we go.